I was reading a book that discussed the idea of the day before yesterday in many languages having a single word to describe it. And I wondered to myself if English had that word. And I looked it up and I found that there weren't a whole lot of opportunities to use a single word in order to do that. But this word Nudiustertian kept coming up. And it's quite antiquated in a lot of ways. It's something that is not often used and I've never heard used. But I thought it was really quite beautiful in that it gave me a way to describe or to, in some ways, explore this idea of recent history, a recent past, right? A singular word that describes the time before the time. The recurring themes in my work are things that reoccur from a very honest position. I think about anxiety and I have a real relationship to it. And it's something that continues to come up, and it's something that, you know, by exploring and by kind of creating a visual language to consider it has become something that's quite cathartic for me. I, as an artist, have always had the goal of finding a way of organizing the world. Art to me is just that organizing principle. It's a way of thinking of what is right and what is right in the terms that I imagine for it. So when you see kind of consistent themes, consistent materials, consistent ways of unpacking and exploring those materials, it's born of just the honest kind of investment in finding a way to make the world reflect what it is I think it could be. The boats feel like they're vehicles that could more or less fit one person, and to think about your own kind of singular thoughts living inside of that space. And we're living in a world that have these great expectations for collective thought, and for us to be on the same page, and for us to be moving the world forward in ways that we think are in everyone's best interest. How you balance the idea of kind of individual reflection and kind of collective opportunity in an artwork. And my work in many different stages has attempted to explore both. I guess to be more granular, I'd have to think about the body of work specifically, and work that explores anxiety. I've always kind of thought about as being kind of an internal dialogue that I was having, an exploration of something that's really kind of close to my own experience. I have one way of imagining its reception. And then of course, I'm really pleasantly surprised as to how that evolves when an audience becomes, you know, adjacent to the work. I oftentimes learn from audiences more about my work from different perspectives that they have on it, whether that's kind of reflections on kind of different cultural sensibilities or different understandings of material histories. I have a real belief that audiences have a deep and sophisticated understanding of what and how gesture and how materials kind of give us space to appreciate the voice of the producers. I've always found different ways to explore material, and those materials usually are born of different kinds of signifiers and different things that I was interested in discussing. I've always been deeply invested in how and in which ways different materials can point us in different directions and give us a different sense of the artist's intention. In this case, with the intention of talking about loneliness, of saudade, of joy, of hope, and ideally of love.